The NBA draft is just a couple of weeks away, and I feel like I owe it to everyone to do at least 3 mock drafts. So today I'm going to release my 1.0 NBA mock draft. Then sometime next week, probably Wednesday, Thursday, probably 2.0, and then 3.0, and that last one will probably be about maybe 2 or 3 days before draft night. So that way it gives everyone a little bit more time to kind of look at that last one over. Because last year, the only mock draft I released, it was only the lottery picks, and that was probably a thing I released probably like the day of or the day before the draft. So I feel like I owe it to everyone to do at least more than 2 mock drafts, 3 mock drafts. I'm aiming to do 3 mock drafts. So today, this is going to be the first one. Now, I have the mock draft saved on the Mock Out app, so I'm going to be reading this off. Okay, so probably the first couple of picks are going to be pretty obvious. They're kind of shoo-ins at this point. But you really never know. Someone could make a big blockbuster trade on trade night. But I don't have any trades in this 1.0. So there's no trades in this. 2.0, I might put some trades in there. 3.0, I definitely plan on doing some because I really think there's going to be at least one blockbuster trade that happens on draft night. Okay, so with the first overall pick, the New Orleans Pelicans, it's pretty obvious they're going to go with Zion Williamson out of Duke. This was a nearly lock. It was a 100% guarantee. Whoever landed the first overall pick was going to draft Zion Williamson. So number 2, I have the Memphis Grizzlies drafting Ja Morant, the point guard of Murray State. So Ja Morant, so this is a pick that's pretty much finding your successor to Mike Conley. I could see teams like possibly Miami, they could trade for Mike Conley. In fact, I will say this. If there is a trade that the Heat are going to be involved in on draft night, I see it being the Heat get Mike Conley, but the Heat give up the number 13 pick. That could be a trade I can see happening. I could also possibly see maybe Cleveland dealing out Mike Conley, which could end up working out, even though they drafted Colin Sexton last year. I think it could really work for Cleveland. So those are 2 kind of things that I see. But anything can really happen, though. Number 3 of the New York Knicks drafting R.J. Barrett. And there's been some rumors going around last week that the Knicks are interested in R.J. Barrett. R.J. Barrett wants to play for the Knicks. The Hawks are interested in trading picks 8 and 10 to trip number 3 to get R.J. Barrett. But I think R.J. Barrett number 3 to the Knicks, I think that's a lock. In fact, I think that the top 3, it's definitely a lock. I feel like the real NBA draft doesn't begin until pick 4, the Los Angeles Lakers. And with the 4th pick, I have the Los Angeles Lakers going with Darius Garland, the point guard out of Vanderbilt. And I made this pick based off of, there was a video that was put out on social media of Darius Garland working out with LeBron James. So, in fact, well, let's just say at this point, probably LeBron James is the GM of the Los Angeles Lakers. So this is probably going to be a pick to satisfy LeBron, make that four-year deal worth it. The question is, will the Lakers end up maybe trying to shop in free agency? I think the Lakers are going to try to get somebody. However, this is a backup plan, though. Although I have it being 50-50 between Garland and DeAndre Hunter for the 4th overall pick. And you could probably even put in Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. I think it's going to be one of those 3 for sure. But I'm leaning more towards it being Garland or DeAndre Hunter. And whoever they don't get, I think it's going to be kind of a free agent off in a way between, very shockingly, Kevin Durant or Kemba Walker. I think whichever position that they don't draft, if they draft Garland at 4, they're going to try to make a run at Durant. If they draft DeAndre Hunter, they're going to make a run at Kemba Walker. I think one of those 2 is going to be a Laker in 2019. With the number 5 overall pick, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers going with Jarrett Culver, the shooting guard out of Texas Tech. And I definitely think that Jarrett Culver is worthy of being a top 5 pick. In fact, he won me over in the NCAA tournament this year. He almost made the game-winning shot in the national championship game, but it did get blocked. So I think that with 2 years in a row, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to just draft probably one of the best players in the draft class. I think Sexton was probably a top 3 draft pick or a top 3 prospect last year. I think Culver is definitely a top 3 prospect this year. In fact, I think Culver is probably the best prospect in this draft that is not Zion Williamson, Morant, or Barrett. So the best prospect that isn't the big 3. Number 6, I had the Phoenix Suns going with Kobe White out of UNC. And this is a pick that I think the Suns, I think this is a best player available mentality. I think they go with Kobe White. Because Kobe White, it is a multiple guard league. So I think he could pair up very well with Devin Booker. Number 7, I had the Chicago Bulls going with Brandon Clark out of Gonzaga. Brandon Clark is another prospect that has kind of surprised me. And I think the Bulls, they just need to take the best player available. Although this pick could also be Reddish. But I think that I'm always skeptical about Duke prospects because it's almost like Ohio State or Clemson, Alabama for football. I'm always skeptical about those prospects because they assume that they're pro level ready. I'm not quite sure what to think of Reddish. Because I have Reddish going a little bit further down. But number 8, I have the Atlanta Hawks going with DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia. And I think this is the best case scenario for the Hawks in this situation. Although there is a certain Hawks fan that I speak to on a regular basis, and he would prefer Reddish. But I think the fact that both these two are available, I think Hunter is the better one out of the two. And then number 9, I have the Washington Wizards going with Cameron Reddish out of Duke. So I have Reddish going at number 9 to the Wizards. Now I am taking the Wizards out of the sweepstakes, not really sweepstakes, but out of like kind of the trade-off for Mike Conley. Because they still have John Wall, even though he's going to be out for at least for maybe more than half of the 2019-2020 season. But you still may want to think ahead. I think possibly taking Reddish, maybe passing on, because there's not really any stacked point guards at this point. I think as soon as Garland goes, I feel like there's really not a stacked group of point guards to choose from, at least in this draft class. Number 10, the Atlanta Hawks are up again. This is the Mavericks pick that the Hawks got in exchange for trading away Luka Doncic. Jackson Hayes out of Texas. And I think the Hawks, I think they want to add in some size. And the way that the Hawks are building things right now, they're trying to be the Eastern Conference Golden State. And it's been evident because Herter is the Eastern Conference Klay Thompson, what they're hoping for. That Trae Young is supposed to be the hopeful Eastern Conference Steph Curry. And with DeAndre Hunter, the hopeful Eastern Conference Kevin Durant. And with Hayes, the hopeful Eastern Conference Draymond Green, Boogie Cousins. So that's what the Hawks are hoping for. So I'm using the 2 picks the Hawks have had so far in this mock draft as building that Golden State mentality. Because I think that's what the Hawks are looking for. Number 11, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves going with Nasir Little out of UNC. This is your Jimmy Butler replacement, even though it's been maybe a year too late. That's kind of the simplest thing. Well, yes, your simple replacement to Jimmy Butler. Number 12, I have the Charlotte Hornets going with Kevin Porter Jr. out of USC. And the Bobcats, I think they need some shooting. And I think Porter, I think at this point it could be a steal because I could see Porter maybe falling into that top 10. But I think with the Bobcats needing a point guard, I feel like you still need shooters, but there's really not many point guards that are really worth it in this draft. So if they take Kevin Porter Jr., it's going to be a mad scramble to try to get Kemba Walker. satisfiable contract. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Miami Heat going with Sekou Doumbouya out of the Limoges. I think the Heat, they just add this pick for size. Kind of like this next one. At number 14, I had the Boston Celtics going with Goga Bitadis out of the center out of the Mega B Mix. So this is a pick that's just for size value and possibly your successor to Al Horford in the near future. And number 15, the Detroit Pistons, I have them going with Romeo Langford out of Indiana. Number 16, I have the Orlando Magic going with Cameron Johnson out of UNC. And the Hawks are up again. Now this is the Brooklyn Nets pick that they traded away to the Atlanta Hawks. As I went over in a video last week when this happened about how the Nets, they are looking to build up cap space, free up space for Kyrie Irving, and then probably another big free agent. So I have the Atlanta Hawks at pick number 17. I have them going with Bull, the center out of Oregon. So let me quickly recap what I have for the Hawks so far. Because the Atlanta Hawks, I think, are going to be the team to watch out for on draft night. They're going to be a team that's going to be very interesting to look for. Because they have 3 picks that are in the top 17. 2 of them are lottery picks. This one you could almost consider a lottery pick, but not quite. So this is kind of a middle tier, bottom tier lottery pick in Bull. And Bull, I think, I'm a little bit mixed on Bull. For 1 minute, I think he's going to be the steal of the draft. The next minute, I'm skeptical. The next minute, I think he's going to be a big steal. The next minute, I'm skeptical again. But I think Bull at pick 17, I think it's worth it for the Atlanta Hawks. And I don't remember if I talked about it in the Atlanta Hawks trade reaction video, but I said that Bull would be worth it depending on where they fell. And I think since Bull is still here at 17, I think it's worth the Atlanta Hawks taking the risk. Because even if things don't work out, at least in this, if this mock draft, if the Atlanta Hawks follow the mock draft, which let's just face it, there's probably a 99% chance they're not going to. You still drafted DeAndre Hunter at 8, and you drafted Jackson Hayes at 10. And you can play Hayes either at the power forward or center position. So Hayes could be that hopeful Draymond Green, and then Bull could be the hopeful Boogie Cousins. Although some critics say that the only thing Bull has is his height. But Bull, he may have had limited time in the college basketball realm in his only season in college. But he did pretty well for the Ducks in the games, in that short time he had for Oregon. I think if Bull played the entire season, I think 2 things. One, I think Bull would probably be the second overall pick in the draft behind Zion Williamson. And 2, I think the Oregon Ducks could have probably made the Final Four if Bull was healthy the whole season. I think he would have been that much of a difference maker for the Ducks. And kind of maybe something unnecessary, but Oregon, they played the eventual national champions, the Virginia Cavaliers. They made Virginia earn that win. They were hanging on with Virginia from start to finish in that matchup. And I think if Bull played in that game, I think he would have provided a huge mismatch for everyone on Virginia. I think Oregon wins that game if Bull was able to play. And I think Oregon makes the Final Four. Although, yes, I also am going to kind of backtrack a little bit. Because if Bull would have played the entire season, that was kind of really pointless for me to say. But Oregon probably would have been a 12th seed if Bull was able to play and he was healthy. Oregon probably would have, I still think they would have made the Final Four, but they probably would have maybe been like a 3 or 4 seed. Anyway, moving on. Number 18, I have the Indiana Pacers going with Nickeil Alexander-Walker out of Virginia Tech. And I think this is a pick to line up with Victor Oladipo pretty well. They need a shooter to kind of complement Victor Oladipo, and I think that's going to be a solid one for the Pacers. Number 19, I have the San Antonio Spurs going with Jonte Porter out of Missouri. Now, this is, I believe, Michael Porter's brother, if I'm not mistaken. But I think this could be a solid one, although I haven't really seen much tape on him in particular. But I'm going to take a look before I do 2.0 because I think he could end up going higher in this draft. I think he could maybe go 13 to Miami. Number 20, I have the Boston Celtics going with Keldon Johnson out of Kentucky. I really need to do some more work on these prospects a little bit, kind of seeing them more. But I think Keldon Johnson, this could provide some shooting to kind of complement, find a replacement for Kyrie, kind of shooting wise. I would have him taken the point guard, but I think it's kind of too early for that. Although I could see we could see a point guard that is kind of surprisingly falls into the first round. Maybe Carson Edwards out of Purdue could go to the Boston Celtics at pick 20 or 22. I could see that as well. Maybe Ty Jerome could surprisingly fall in there. Although I am surprised that no mock drafts have Carson Edwards even touching the first round. I think he earned a spot as at least a middle first rounder based on his performance in March Madness. But I could see possibly at number 22, because there's always those prospects you never think are going to go in the first round that end up going in the first round. And I think this year we could see Carson Edwards be in the first round. Okay, number 21, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder going with Matisse Thybulle out of Washington. Number 22, I have the Boston Celtics going with Ryu Hachimura out of Gonzaga. Now, Ryu Hachimura, I think at this point it'd be a surprise if he fell this far. But all I think Hachimura has going for him is kind of his size and his athletic stature. I think this was someone that I was hoping that the Hawks would get, but there's still some speculation. I think Hachimura at 17 could be worth it for the Hawks, but they already have Bol in the situation. But I think Hachimura could be a steal for the Celtics. Since the Celtics are a playoff caliber team, this could be a pick that's really worth the risk, considering the Celtics have 3 picks in the first round. So this is going to be worth it for Boston. Number 23, I have the Utah Jazz going with Talen Horton-Tucker out of Iowa State. Number 24, I have the Philadelphia 76ers going with Grant Williams out of Tennessee. 25, I have the Portland Trailblazers going with Tyler Hero out of Kentucky. 26, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers going with Lucas Semanik out of Petro Olympija. 27, I have the Brooklyn Nets going with Laguntius Dort out of Arizona State. 28, I have the Golden State Warriors going with Mafundo Kebenalaji. Let me try it again. Mafundio Kebengeli out of Florida State. And I think this is going to be a simple replace Boogie Cousins because he's on the move in free agency. I would have him going with a small forward because I figure it's going to be the Kevin Durant replacement. But I think that they want to cover the center position first because they've gone through a couple of centers in the past. They've already gone through Zaza Pachulia and now at the end of the season, Boogie Cousins. So you want to find a center that's going to be long-term, and I think Mafundo could be that guy. Number 29, I have the San Antonio Spurs going with KZ Okapala out of Stanford. This is kind of a successor to Kawhi Leonard. Number 30, I have the Milwaukee Bucks, the final pick of the first round. I have him going with Dylan Windler out of Belmont. And Windler, I haven't seen much of him, but I saw him in 2 games of March Madness, and I think he's worth the first round pick. I think he's going to be a surprise pick. I think he's going to be one of those guys that falls in the first round that we don't expect to. Right, so that is my 1.0 2019 NBA mock draft. Comment your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time.